Say apple. That is one of the first lines in Portal 2. When Wheatley asks Chell to say yes or to say apple to him as a response, all Chell does is just jump. All she had to say is yes or apple, but why did she think otherwise? Does she dislike interacting with robots? If so, why bother jumping at all? It's easy to say Chell was just being funny, or Chell is mute, but we have to take in a lot more information to come up with a real answer. Portal 2 is one of my most favourite games ever. Some may even call the Portal franchise revolutionary for puzzle games. Portal did not just give us very fun puzzles to solve, we were gifted with some interesting characters. GLaDOS, Wheatley, Cave Johnson, Companion Cube, you name it. These characters kept us waiting for more of their dialogues with their very upbeat and interesting personalities, except Companion Cube, of course. Is it shocking that Companion Cube didn't have any dialogue throughout the whole series? No, I guess not. But there is one more character who does not have any dialogue throughout the whole series, and I'm obviously talking about Chell. But why does it have to be that way? Look, I am not trying to objectify Companion Cube here, but Companion Cube is an object, literally. Chell is not. As far as we know, Chell is a human test subject. So why is it that there is not a single line in the game spoken by Chell? Is she mute? Or is she unwilling? Sorry for that really long intro just to get to the question. I didn't know how to open it. But now that we're here, let's discuss what are the possibilities of Chell staying silent throughout the game. First, let's tackle the elephant in the room. Portal 2 is a heavily immersive game, and Chell talking could ruin that immersion. But there is a counterpoint to this, because in Half-Life Alyx, another Valve game just like Portal and is within the same universe, a literal VR game, doesn't have a silent protagonist. Maybe this is because we have already heard her talk before, but the point is, even as a VR game where you could say the entire point is just immersion, a talking protagonist provides no damage at all to the game. But again, Chell being mute for just immersion and narrative choice does add to the immersion regardless. It saves a lot of budget as well. In return, we got a lot of amazing GLaDOS, Cave Johnson and Wheatley dialogues. Apart from the Alyx topic I left out in my last video about Gordon Freeman, a silent protagonist of Half-Life series which takes place in the same universe as Portal, I have made some other mistakes while making that video. I carelessly left a section in my video which was not audible due to how loud the background music was. I hope the same mistake doesn't happen again, and I'll be checking this video several times before I upload it to the channel. But there's another reason why I brought up my last video. I missed a pretty important topic: whether Gordon Freeman talks in Half-Life series. You can find the definitive answer in that video, but a reason why he could not be speaking is because the events in those games happens really fast, and it maybe makes sense that Gordon Freeman just stayed silent for those specific days because he was in a rush. Could that be what happened to Chell in Portal series? I think that question is a bit silly, but let's see if we can get anything out of that anyway. There isn't really any concerning time skips in Portal 1 and Portal 2, so for an average to somewhat slow player, the whole playthrough should take 3 to 4 hours for the first game or 8 to 9 hours for the second game. It's just an estimation. There could be a few hours of margin of error in there depending on the player, but the point is everything happens so fast, and Chell is on a rush to defeat GLaDOS or to escape the Aperture Science facility. So maybe Chell just didn't think of talking for that specific day, just like Gordon Freeman. But this is a really unrealistic take, because Chell just woke up from a status in the beginning of Portal 1 and Portal 2, so the time is not the factor here. The characters are also really pushy for Chell to respond, so there is no way Chell is not speaking just because she is on a rush. We are aware this isn't the first time we saw a Valve protagonist remain silent. While why Gordon Freeman is mute or not is ambiguous, the answer to why Chell remains silent is maybe really simple to figure out, and Eric Wolpaw made our job really easy with his interviews. If you don't know who Eric Wolpaw is, he is the writer of Portal games, so anything he says should be prioritized as official unless there's more official or valid contradictions. Let's hear about what he says first.
She just chooses not to. What with the robots all being... Why give them the satisfaction? He also said, "My personal idea is that Chell can talk, but she's just kind of pissed the whole time. She just doesn't like robots. She doesn't want to give them the satisfaction of ever responding to their nonsense." As you can see, there is a lot of things he said regarding this topic. He has also said, "The fact that there's already this established thing where you have a silent protagonist, that saves us a lot of time. You may want to know Chell's backstory, you may want to hear her say things, but I guarantee if she had to say her straight man lines at the expense of half of the other dialogue, it would suck." So this means Chell is intended to have the ability to talk, confirmed by the writer of Portal, but she just doesn't want to give satisfaction to the robots by responding to them. Why does she hate the robots? We do not have a lot of time for the details, and if we do discuss about it, that has to be a video of its own. But let me give you the necessary context. It is because GLaDOS killed everyone in Aperture Science before the events of Portal. I'll just refer you to the source Ozzy Flowell. His video about Chell went deep into what happened. And when GLaDOS killed everyone, that probably included Chell's adoptive father. But that is not confirmed in any way, though there are very strong and valid points backing that up. Forget about the adoptive father thing and all that. The information that is important to us right now is that GLaDOS killed everyone. That's what we have to remember. This is why Chell doesn't want to communicate with the robots.
But there is something that I've found which potentially goes against this idea. While I was writing the script, I just kept asking myself questions while trying to defend as well as debunk all the points that I made, so prepare for the next sections. Chell's friendship with Wheatley gets a lot more closer in the game as the game progresses. Wheatley's moronic personality gives off a threatless vibe. You could say being friends with him will make you feel safer. Well, that is until Wheatley takes a sip of power. Don't be friends with Wheatley after he's had a taste of that. Trust me, don't. But at the very start of Portal 2, when Chell meets Wheatley for the first time, there was not much information about Wheatley, so as usual, Chell doesn't verbally respond to Wheatley because she hates these robots. At the end of the day, Wheatley is just a lifeless being trying to simulate life.
Speaking about Wheatley, he thinks Chell has brain damage because of being in stasis for so long. He thinks that is what caused her to lose her ability to speak. This is just an assumption. While it could be true if we are going to speculate about it, but having brain damage can add more side effects besides losing the ability of just talking. That being said, it is not unrealistic that being in stasis for so long can give you brain damage, but like I've said, it is just an assumption Wheatley made to make our lives harder. It is as if Wheatley had to say those lines just so it's tougher for me write this script. Anyway, in my defense, Wheatley is dumb. Nobody has ever confirmed Chell actually has brain damage, and if anyone here has brain damage, it has to be Wheatley. All jokes aside, I do not really think Chell has brain damage, considering all of her abilities, and the other topics about why she doesn't talk just holds more value. GLaDOS at one point also called Chell a dangerous mute lunatic. This is most likely a reference to Chell being very stubborn to stay in defiance. So, is she actually not talking because she is just refusing? Let's go back to the intro of the video. Say Apple. Why would Chell jump as a response? Why give Wheatley the satisfaction? If Chell is mute, why not simply nod? But Valve tells us she is not mute. So, okay, let's say she is not mute. So the only explanation here would be that she just has a sense of humour. Is that all there is to it?
The question still remains, even if she is not mute, why would she jump at all, if she wishes to be silent and hates the robots for the monsters they are, or if she is simply just mute? I guess there's no answer for both sides of that cake. We don't know. The real answer to that question is Chell just decided to do that. Maybe Wheatley's first impression was comforting enough for Chell to put on a pouting face. At least that is my headcanon. I like to think the say apple moment happened because Chell was confused if she wanted to respond or not. Despite all the hatred she has for the robots, maybe Wheatley's personality made her interact at the very least. Maybe that is the reason, but as the game progresses, Wheatley is more and more closer to Chell, and at one point Chell trusts him well enough to be a team. Wheatley is undoubtedly the sidekick of the story, and that is up until when he got power. Never trust Wheatley after he gets power. Trust me, don't.
But the point I'm making is, if Chell interacts with him to that extent later, why not just talk to him? Now, in defense of Chell's social inactivity, Chell went through a lot in Portal 1. GLaDOS spoke like a friend at times, and maybe it would have been easy to fall for her fake friendliness. Because we all know GLaDOS is evil, and all she did was just an attempt of mockery, and sometimes manipulation. What I think happened in Portal 2 is that even though Wheatley made a friendly impression, Chell is strong mentally and will never trust a robot to an extent where she forgives them for what happened. However, what I just said right now might be contradicting to all the non-verbal interactions involving Wheatley and Chell. This whole section is full of speculation, and I don't know what more is there to discuss about Wheatley. Let me know if I missed anything, but I would say we can't ignore the speculation. From the, say, Apple scene to Wheatley's betrayal, all events just simply happened. There's not much to it. They are events that occurred as normally as possible. What we can do is just speculate and speculate and speculate. So the whole Wheatley thing should be marked as low priority in order to prove that Chell is mute. So what is the answer? How do we know if Chell is not mute or if she is mute? Well, like I've said earlier, we have to prioritize what Valve themselves have said. Eric Woolpow is valid. We couldn't get anything out of the Wheatley's Say Apple scene, so we have to trust Eric Woolpow. Trusting Eric Woolpow is the only way. Maybe we wished we could prove Eric wrong by getting something from the Wheatley scene, so it was necessary to discuss, and after we have gone back and forth in that topic, it's safe to think Eric Woolpow is right. Chell is not mute, she just decides not to, and that is our answer right here. This video took a long time to research, write and edit. Despite my horrible history in making good videos, I do put in a lot of effort in these work, and I am still learning. Everything here is human-made, except for the text-to-speech. I feel guilty about having AI to speak for me. I am a bit forced to do so. I do not own a mic, and I am not financially stable enough to afford one. You don't have to, but it really helps if you can join my Patreon. There will be more videos to come, and I'd love to show you my work process in Patreon. You will also access my videos early, but I am mostly thrilled about sharing you how I make these videos from scratch to finish.
This is Andy. Say Apple.